Welcome to the Mini-Fini video series installing a SportLink 2. This is a video that is applicable to the R56 series Mini and also the new Mini Coupe and the Roadster series. So after safety lifting your car on an automotive lift, or if you're doing this on jack stands, make sure you get those properly in place before you put any part of your body under the car. Now we're going to start with loosening up the fasteners that are in the wheel well. They're a two-piece fastener, so you loosen up the center of the fastener with the number 2 Phillips. Sometimes you have to hold pressure against the collar to keep it from spinning. If they're really dirty, sometimes it helps to spray a little WD-40 on them before you try to remove them. Now peel back the wheel well liner material and tuck it behind the tire. This allows you to get to the electrical connection for the side marker light. Now just using your hand, you just pop that cleat loose on the bottom of the wheel arc and then reach up and squeeze the end of that fastener so that it will pop through the hole. Now we're going to gently pull that back and twist it to gain access to the screw that's hidden behind the wheel arc, which is holding the bumper cover on. We'll do that on the other side of the car also. Now we're going to remove the 2 screws that are in the bottom corners of the hatch on each side. Keep all your fasteners in a nice stable container so you can not lose track of anything for reinstallation. And use an 8mm socket on this screw to remove it. And it's located on the right hand side of the exhaust. These bolts may require some WD-40 or blaster sprayed on them if they're very rusty to help remove them. And once you get those loose, you'll want to modify the bracket that the muffler is hung from. There is a tongue piece that goes up inside the frame pocket, and you need to clip that off with a cutoff tool. Use a pry tool, push down in the center, and get the bumper cover loose from the vehicle. And we're now taking loose all of the electrical connections on the bumper cover. You might have park distance sensors. Those need to be unclipped also. Take the connectors loose that hold the harness onto the bumper bracket with a forked pry tool. The bumper is the next piece to go. 4 bolts on each side. Usually come out pretty easy. And we're now ready to take the metal bumper loose, and we set that aside. Okay, now we're going to put the SportLink in. Make sure that you've removed any body mastic that may be interfering with seating it onto the flat surface. You want to be sure this foam is centered before you push in on it to make these impression marks. Then use your cutting tool. Be sure to leave guards in place. This tool is not being powered, it's just being shown how it's used. You never want to use a tool without proper safety guarding on it. You can also use an oscillating cut tool, such as a fine Metal Master or a Dremel, to make these incisions and clear a 1/4 inch wide path, right clear through, about 1.5 inches deep for that gusset. And we fit it back in place. So now it's just a matter of cutting your template out carefully. So we're going to make the holes now for the ports to come through the rear grille. And you want to get that centered up well. Use some masking tape to properly position it, and then make a couple pinprick marks where the center of those ports need to be drilled. Double check the measurements, make sure you're 22.5 inches center to center, and then pilot them with a 1/4 inch bit. And then use your hole saw, either 1 7/8 or 1 3/4, depending upon if you're going to use the receiver caps or not. Now we're going to put the bolts back in and get them through the shim plates on each side. You can use 1 or 2 shim plates depending upon how true the surface of your car is. Don't over torque the bolts. It's about no more than 30 foot-pounds effort required to tighten these screws up. If you go any heavier than that, you'll probably snap them. So don't get carried away. So we're now putting the bolts back up through the hook brackets that hold the muffler on each side, and those are going into the tapped holes in the Sport Link. You can see that these plates that we're putting back, the hanger for the mufflers, have already been cut off, but there is a tongue that goes inside, and you have to trim that end of it off and discard it. We're just using the lower portion with the hook. Putting the wire harness back in, just push those back into place in the holes they came out of, and then put your electrical connectors back on for your lights. And also, if you have park distance controls, you will need to reattach those connectors. Place the bumper cover. You want to make sure it's in between the wheel arcs on each side, and seat the flanges in place where they go and give them a nice firm press into place. Then put the screws back in each corner of the rear hatch. Sometimes it helps to have somebody else pushing on each side of the bumper cover as you're putting this fastener in to get proper tension from side to side. Make sure it's centered, and then pop that gray fastener back in through the hole and reseat the cleats. And then make your electrical side marker light connection. Now we can reinstall the wheel well liner material, tuck it in behind the wheel arc. Get everything fitting real good, and next we're going to do is squeeze the ends of the spider fasteners to allow them to go back into the holes they came out of. Sometimes it takes a little wiggling back and forth to get them in, but then just once you get them lined up, just give them a good quick push and they'll re-expand back into place. I'm now putting that screw back in that's on that one bracket on the right hand side of the exhaust with the 8mm socket. We're going to lower the car and we're going to put our attachment onto the Sport Link. We close the hatch here, we insert the pin into the passenger side of the vehicle, all the way seated, and then we rotate it over to horizontal and push the pin in on the driver's side with the handle, rotate that over to the right and push the lock button down, and that secures it onto the vehicle. And you're ready to go towing, biking, whatever you wish to do.